The first experience I had where I personally was put in a situation that I not only didn't see myself as qualified to be in, I actually wasn't really qualified to be in, but I was so afraid, was in college. While I was in my third year of college, I was in the business school. I was a business major. I was a dual major. One of my majors was business. And I took a calculus class. I finished the course and the semester's over. And it's like, you've been nominated to become a calculus supplemental instructor. Okay, so this is like a job on the campus where you actually teach the course. You go to the class, retake the class, and you teach the students the course throughout the course of the semester. You teach alongside of the professor. Okay, so I was so scared and felt so unqualified, but I decided to challenge myself and to take the offer to do this job. Fast forward, I got hired, and this was a PWI, which stands for predominantly white institution. So my first year teaching calculus, and mind you, this is a secret that I actually have never told anyone until now, so you guys are pretty exclusive on here. I got all the way up to my third year in college being a business major and everything, and I did not fully know my multiplication tables, okay? Like, I could do certain ones, like my 5s were good, my 1s of course were good, my 2s were good, but if you ask me like, you know, like 6 times 7, before, I wouldn't have known that. I would have been like, let me just like pull out my phone calculator real quick. Y'all, I promise I'm not dumb. It's just like, I didn't see it as necessary. I always had a calculator, I always had a phone. I was just like, when am I ever gonna need this? And it was true, because I literally got to I got to my third year of college without knowing that. So we're in supplemental instructor training for calculus, and I raised my hand to ask this question. I'm like, hypothetically, if someone doesn't know, you know, their multiplication tables and they're about to teach this class, you know, like, what would you suggest? She literally verbatim laughed, like, was just like, you're so funny, Rachel. Okay, any more questions? Y'all, it was pretty, I was highly unqualified to be in this position. I was like, why did they hire me? Why was I nominated to do this? So I get the position. I am the only one of 2 African American females in the entire program. The rest was all Caucasian. So that was another intimidating factor. Guys, this was a very, very, very intimidating situation. Not only did I not know what I was doing, not only had I never presented before in my life, not only had I considered myself to be terrible at math up till this point, but I was now teaching it. I was now in a role of teaching calculus. Fast forward, that turned out to be one of the most rewarding jobs that I have ever worked in my life. I made so many friends, made so many connections. I taught so many students. I helped so many students that were just like me, that thought that they were bad at math, that thought that they had struggled in math. And actually, my story helped so many of my students do well in that course, because anyone who got discouraged. And so when I tell you that certain times when you share the things that you consider to be embarrassing, the things that you consider to be your drawback, it can help so many people. I would sit up there and tell them, I'm teaching you calculus right now, right? I'm teaching you calculus. Right before I taught this class, I didn't know my multiplication tables. So if I can sit up here and do it, you can do it. And that helped, that encouraged so many of my students. And I feel like life is like that. That's just an example that when you choose to act beyond what you feel yourself unqualified to be in, when you choose not to be afraid, you inspire and help so many people. You guys see sometimes the red poster. I went to a KKK rally. Well, I was an anti-protester at a KKK rally. They decided that they wanted to have a KKK rally for 2018 in the streets of Washington, D.C. Head on and tell them with my actions and with my life that I'm not standing for this sort of closed-mindedness and this sort of hatred in my street, because I live in a portion of Maryland that's maybe 10 minutes away from Washington, D.C. So that was not only too close to home, but it was not something that I was going to stand for. I wasn't going to sit in my house and worry about being safe or worrying about just letting other people handle it. I was going to take it upon myself and my actions to do it. So when I initially announced this, everyone around me discouraged me. Everyone looked at me like, you're really going to that? And my family especially did not like the idea of me going to this rally, to this protest, and specifically told me not to go. I had certain members specifically tell me not to go. I had already decided upon myself that I was gonna go. So even though I respect what others tell me sometimes, if it's something that I feel that I have to do, I have to have courage to do it. When it's something that you know that you need to do, you do it because it's within you. It's everyone else won't understand you sometimes, but it doesn't matter. It's a matter of you doing what you have to do, acting beyond fear. Because I was afraid. I went by myself. I was shaking driving up to Washington, D.C. because I didn't know anyone there. I wasn't going to meet anyone. I was going by myself. But I decided that no matter what, this was important enough to me. That message that I was going to go share was important enough to me that I was going to do this even if I had to do it alone. Fast forward, I had one of the best times of my life. I went, it was a gathering of anti-protesters. It had to be around like 5,000 people. Black Lives Matter were there. I specifically was with an organization, I forgot the name, but I met some of the most amazing people I have ever met from around the country. People from around the country came to be a part of this anti-protest. I met some interesting people, had free food because people were giving out free meals, listened to free music. It was kind of like a big block party of anti-protesters. And the march was even more amazing because in me marching, the feeling of me marching through the streets of Washington, D.C., not only was prideful in that I was standing up for what I believe in, but prideful that I made it there, that I fought through my fear. I fought through the oppression, and I was gonna do what I believed in. I was gonna do what I said, what I told myself I was gonna do. And you only get that feeling of pride when you push through whatever you're afraid of. I place myself in environments constantly now that I feel unqualified to be in. And it all started from me being a calculus supplemental instructor. But from that, now I go to business meetings where the people that regularly go there, the people that meet, highly outqualify me. They definitely know more. They're definitely in higher positions. And most times when I initially walk in, they look at me like, who are you? Because I also realize that I come off younger a lot of times than how I actually am. But I fight through that fear. I fight through that feeling of initially feeling unqualified because I tell myself, and I realize that later on, I'm going to thank myself so much for being in those situations, for fighting through that feeling of being uncomfortable and that feeling of being scared, because I know that being there will not only prove to myself that I can do this, that I am more than qualified, but I will eventually level up, get to the level of the people that I surround myself with. Because I have learned so much going to business meetings. I personally am interested in investing in real estate. So I go to different real estate investing meetings throughout the DMV area. And I've met so many people and learned so much just from placing myself in these environments multiple times, and people realizing that I'm not afraid, people realizing that I'm gonna come back, even though I don't always know what they're talking about, even though I'm not always qualified to be there. I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue to try, and I'm going to fight through it. And even making YouTube, I was so scared. I was so scared to actually start YouTube. Man, I was scared. I was terrified. That's why it held me back. We're going to talk about that in a later video, but there's no reason that if you are watching this and you're not doing what I'm doing, if you want to, there's no reason you can't do it. Like, every reason that you come up with for your fear, just let it die. Anyone who tries to stop you from what you feel like you need to do, ignore them. Don't listen to them, because when you fight, when you push through and you become that person that pushes through the fear, you do what you tell yourself that you want to do, what you know in your spirit you want to do, you become spiritually strong. You become mentally strong. You feel the strength. You feel the courage. You feel the pride when you do these things. And I'm not saying it's okay to be a prideful person, you know what I mean? But this sense of pride that you get from becoming the person that fights through fear, from becoming the person that realizes it's a scary situation, but you're gonna do it anyway. You're gonna go anyway. You're gonna stay anyway. You're gonna fight past your fear, your feelings of inadequacy, your feelings of not being good enough, and still do it. You'll be so glad you did. Your future self will thank you so much. And that's really what this is about. So thank you so much for listening. I hope this resonated with you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and have an amazing day or night.